iRacing gets into the 95 of Folks. Here comes the caution.
Flag is dropped here at Daytona, and away go for the first time. Nicholas Morcel, Sean.
Looks like most get through unscathed. Look at that, there's Reed Gibson. A big move at the inside line of Dom's, possibly a little bit of contact.
Now, as we've got three wide action going through turns 1 and 2.
And they're underway. Eric Hahn takes a nice jump. Wilson hasn't let him go very far.
Go out here for Circuit Spa Francorchamps. Alex Johnson's off to a brilliant start there.
Just how oddly shaped this one is. We saw in the background Eric Hahn go for a bit of a swing, and he's gone and he's over.
Smooth stuff. Cody Graham's the one-on-one up into second place. Alex Johnson 6/10 lead at the moment.
They're dicey up front. There's Andrew Kessel, Justin Sang.
They are ready to go. The lights are out, and away we go for the very first time here at Oklahoma International Circuit. Finley Fitzsimmons.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Old Bastards Racing League here in Nashville, Tennessee. Well, Gladeville, Tennessee, as we're at Nashville Speedway and Nashville Superspeedway, I should say, as my words are befuddling me right now. But we are about to get underway as we are currently in the very midst of qualifying at the very moment, as we're going to start wandering around and looking at how we're shaping up so far. It's looking pretty good right now, with Greg McDaniel starting on pole for the moment, as we're currently watching Dean Gear roll around the track. Now, Dean Gear, he does have a green flag pass-through penalty. So Dean, regardless of where he qualifies right now, he will have to serve that penalty within the first 3 laps of the green flag start. So that will be awarded to him as we get underway, jumping on with Josh Robinson now. And we're watching to see where Robinson can make his mark, as he is typically seen towards the higher end of this field. You can see the beautiful sunset glow in the background here tonight, as we have a good one in store for you. 1.33 miles of Nashville Superspeedway, 140 laps is what we're scheduled for here tonight, as qualifying has just wrapped up. A bit quicker qualifying than we're used to seeing here, so we are getting ready to get that one underway as we take a look at just how this one has shaped up already. So we're getting ready to grid up. We will run through the field. Greg McDaniel starting on pole, probably the first time I think I've seen him this season starting up there. Chris Bates with a phenomenal job as well, also starting in the second place spot. Dwayne MacArthur, D. Wayne starting in the third place position, with longtime friend and colleague Tom Ogle starting alongside Team Miata teammate just behind Ogle in Josh Robinson. Also going to be starting in that 5th place spot, just a little bit further back, with Bruce Pearson in that 3rd row. Brian Lindsay in the 7th position, with Michael Watts, our road racing phenomenon from last week, going to be starting in that 4th row, alongside with Lloyd Moore and Patrick Martindale rounding out our top 10 in the 5th row. As we work our way down a little bit, Wayne Hufford and Dan Hill starting in the 11th and 12th spot in our 6th row. Our 7th row, Jonathan Green and Cameron Shosey, man whose name I keep forgetting. We will try and get that one sorted out. I'm sure I'm getting closer and closer, as we've taken a week off to adjust ourselves. Mike Lynch in the 15th position, with Brian Lynch, the 2 Lynches, going to be starting very close together. That same line there in the 8th row. 9th row, Dean Gear, again having that penalty later on, so we'll see how that one pans out, with Lee Warsdale alongside Dave Nestor and Robert Crisco Garisco going to be starting in our 10th row. Daniel Edgren and Larry Corey going to be in our 11th row, with Matt Semrick and Troy Baker going to be starting in 23rd and 24th. Cycling it on back another time, Dustin Martinson and Kermit Gentry Jr. going to be in the 25th and 26th position. Victor Lane Terry Atwood starting in our 14th row. John Hastings, Mark Schrader in our 15th row. Ryan McRubbin, Jim Smith in the 16th row. Victor Ryan and Jonathan Thea, one of the newcomers to the league, going to be in our 17th row. 18th row consisting of Mark Fish, who is right on the bubble of making the playoffs at the moment. 10 races more still to go till that becomes a massive issue, with Lachlan Lemanchek starting alongside and Clay Walker rounding out our 37-car grid here tonight. We are not going green, according to what we've just been told by race control. Not quite yet, even though the pace car has pulled off. We have adjusted ourselves to that. So we have the pace car coming out once again. We do have a list here, we do have a crash report here between two drivers further back in the field, which explains why we are not going green quite as quickly as we thought. Seems to be a bit of an issue between Jonathan Thea and Michael Lemanchek as to who decides to go where in the grid. Not sure what exactly is going on there, but that is okay, and we'll get ready to roll it back once again and get started here. As we welcome all the fans, as per usual, thank you very much for tuning in and joining me up here in the spectator area of the booth to wishing these old bastards a great way around Nashville Superspeedway. We get ready to drop the green flag. Here we go! As we get underway, Greg McDaniel takes a nice jump off the start, round the inside of Chris Bates. They're still too wide though as they head into turn 2. Little ways down the backstretch, Dwayne MacArthur is going to take advantage of that low side lane as well to take that place away from Chris Bates in the second place position. Ogle deciding to maybe stay in the middle for the moment. Interesting to see how that lane will progress for him, but it seems to be doing the job right now as Ogle is trying to make his way past Chris Bates and does get there just before the checkered line. See if he's able to make that pass next time by on lap 2, and does so. So he's going to take that position away. Chris Bates dropping early on to the 4th position from 2nd place, remembering that he started on the outside lane. Bruce Pearson and Josh Robinson in a heated battle just behind them in the 5th and 6th positions, as Pearson tries to make that outside lane work, but we have not seen that one work in practice, nor are we seeing it work so far. It'll be interesting to see if it grooves in as the race progresses. You can see there Dean Gear just serving his penalty coming out of pit lane, so we'll see. Hopefully doesn't get involved in any sort of issues as he makes his way back on track into the thick of things right now. But it looks all safe and clean for the moment. And as I say that, the commentator's curse hits hard. Massive, massive accident. Patrick Martindale with a huge crash coming out of turn 3. What we're being shown here, we'll have to take a good look at this one. As yes, it looks like Dan Hill in the 7 machine just clips the rear end. Thinking there was room down there, the 93 not thinking he was there. Potentially a small miscommunication between those two drivers and their crew chiefs, and you can see the hood just bouncing off of that thing. The Napa Auto Parts machine goes for a spin. Martindale thankfully checking up, but it looks like the 19 machine has come in and got a little bit involved in that one as well. That's going to be Dustin Martinson. And it looks like we might have some other people following him down as well. It doesn't look like, I don't believe any other machine was involved in that one too heavily. But we do have a few cars coming down pit road. Does make me wonder Apologies for a little bit of stuttering going on there, as whether it is the iRacing service or my Australian internet that is trying its best to keep up, I could not quite tell you. Well, I will say, as I have not been able to introduce myself formally, I am Gareth McAllister, bringing you the action with Team Goon Squad Broadcasting. 60 FPS and 1080p if my Australian internet can allow me to do so. So all the way from Australia, trying my very best to bring you as much of the action as I can here at the OBRL. These guys are absolutely phenomenal at what they do, and they really require me to be on my toes in order to get as much of the action as I can being broadcasted to everyone watching at home. Pac-Man CT joining us in the spectator areas saying, "Go Team VLS." We are hoping to see a good thing coming out of them, as Dan Hill is showing up as crashing now as well. I believe he may have just stopped on track here. He's going very, very slow on the apron. I think actually taking the blame for that one. I believe some of these drivers, they have a bit of a penalty system here, I believe, in the OBRL Cup Series. In the Kimball Cup Series, I should say. I believe they have a bit of a penalty system where you have to basically announce that it was your wrongdoing, and then give yourself a self-appointed EOL, I believe is what Dan Hill was doing. And if no one can agree on just whose fault it was, they go to a steward's review after the race to determine penalties that way. So I believe that is how the OBRL Cup Series does its business, as we're going to get ready to go back to green after this time by. It is Dwayne MacArthur up front right now. Greg McDaniel in the second position with Tom Ogle and Chris Bates in your second row. Josh Robinson and Bruce Pearson on that outside in the third row. So already a little bit of craziness, but that is what we absolutely love. Now do remember as well that all of these guys in the OBRL Cup Series have a 7x incident limit, meaning that if you get above 7 incident points throughout a race, you will be ejected from the session, regardless of how you are doing at that current point in time. Just a reminder for those folks at home that do not know, a car contact, if severe enough, will be labelled you as 4 incident points. A spin will be labelled as 2, however, if it is in-car contact, it will be not put together. They will be kept separate, so you will only get the highest penalty. And you can also get 0 with minor contacts, so we will see how that one shapes up as Dwayne MacArthur and Greg McDaniel take a green flag. Chris Bates holding back the start a little bit further down as he was in 4th place, and we did hear as well as get the notification that something went wrong straight away on the restart, and it's looking like it's going to be between Michael Lemanchek and John Hastings. So on the restart, we're going to have a look at this one. Currently looking at Lemanchek. See if the 70 machine has any sort of issue. As Bruce Pearson looks like was the actual one that went around, and everyone else just kind of had to check up to avoid it. So we're going to have a look as Bruce Pearson. I can't believe we missed that, as that was right up front in the pack, just barely off of camera. As it almost looks like the wheel just turned left on him. You could see it. smashing into the Wonder White machine, which also gets into Brian Lynch just behind the Hooters backed machine, I believe that is. No, I think that's Gear Wrench. And yeah, Bruce Pearson just unfortunately having a bit of an issue. And a Gear Wrench machine of Lee Warsdell. Lee Warsdell running a different scheme tonight. Gonna have to catch up on all these schemes once again. Lloyd Moore still running the Wonder White though, so he was definitely involved in that one. We are going to stack the field up once again. We were told Jonathan Green was heading down pit road, so potentially Jonathan Green's machine was involved in that one. Gonna have a quick look. Yes, it was Jonathan Green involved as well. So Jonathan Green and Lloyd Moore both caught up in that, I'm gonna almost say, hardware failure of Bruce Pearson there, as that looked very, very interesting indeed. It did look like his machine just all of a sudden whipped it to the left. And usually you'd say that wheel spin may have played a factor in that one, but judging from what I could see, it looked like his front wheels were actually pointed to the left rather than straight. So it does make me wonder if he had some sort of major hardware failure. That is absolutely unfortunate to see. So our second caution of the night just completed over 10 laps so far out of your 140 lap event. I don't think I have mentioned it yet, so I will mention it now. We have roughly fuel window of around about 60 to 70 laps, maybe being able to be stretched it, especially with some of these cautions, being able to stretch it just a little bit further, and you should be able to split this fuel run in half. So only one stop will be required from these drivers if they are able to save that tiny bit of fuel. But with these cautions, it looks like it may be the case that that is able to be done. In practice, we were hitting speeds of around about 180 mile an hour. Definitely expect them to be doing a little bit faster than that, if not the exact same. Certainly not slower with the amount of draft you get from the cars in front of you. As mentioned previously, we have 10 races until the start of the playoffs. And right now, Mark Fish finds himself on the border at 18th position. Just taking a look, and Mark Fish, there he is sitting in the 25th position right now on track. So he'll be looking to gain a few more points, because right behind him in the standings is Robert Crisco Garisco. Not too far behind indeed, and he is currently sitting in the 11th space on track. So one of those drivers that after this race may be finding himself in the cutoff position for the chase. So it's definitely getting interesting as we wind down the races. This included in one of those 10 before the chase cutoff, where the top 18 cars will qualify to go through and fight it out for the championship. As we will then have another 3 races, I believe, and then have a cutoff of 12 as well to then make it home. But we will discuss that at length in future races. But for now, we get ready to go once again, as D. Wayne is going to be starting us off from the pole. Greg McDaniel alongside with Ogle Bates in your second row, and your third row consisting of Josh Robinson and now Michael Watts, after that bit of an issue from Bruce Pearson. And we get underway. A very slow entry into turn 1 by Dwayne MacArthur sees Ogle all over the back bumper, as Ogle is pushing straight from the outset. That number 11 machine looking very, very racy indeed. Greg McDaniel on his high side though, looking pretty strong right now. He has led almost every single lap to this point, And it looks like Josh Robinson is going to take that third place spot away from him, though. That lower line, definitely the way to go. As we've got a battle between Wayne Hufford and Mike Lynch shaping up pretty well. Wayne Hufford doing a great job of fighting for this 8th position right now. Usually a driver that finds himself a bit more in the mid-pack, doing a fantastic job so far tonight. I'm assuming some practice has come his way, and it's definitely showing if he has done, as he is currently fighting, falling back just to 9th place there with Mike Lynch just underneath, as Dwayne MacArthur sets the fastest lap of the race so far with a 29.99, just barely clipping underneath that 30-second mark per lap. Able to get that one dialed in as the closest battle on track right now, John Hastings and Victor Lane. Victor Lane on that high side with Victor Lane Motorsports, and it looks like the Tide Machine of John Hastings is going to be able to take that one away. Brian McRubbin also trying to get himself in the mix and take that 18th spot away. 19th spot away, and does so. Victor Lane falling back a little bit. Speaking of, Kermit Gentry just falling to Dave Nestor there for the 16th position. Dave Nestor taking over 15th as Ogle and Wayne go side by side. I say Wayne D. Wayne, as Dwayne MacArthur and Tom Ogle are side by side. And Ogle is going to make that pass fairly substantially as we look at all the battles round on the track right now. So Ogle and Dwayne MacArthur, these two no strangers to seeing each other, and no strangers to seeing each other up front either, as they both have wins in the OBRL Kimball Cup Series up to this point, and the most winningest driver right behind them in Josh Robinson. Looking on this battle right now, also our All-Star winner in Josh Robinson, sitting in the 3rd position. Absolutely dead even racing further back in the pack. Robert Garisco and Brian Lynch absolutely side by side. My timing screen for a second there could not work out which one was in front of the other, but it does look like Robert Garisco is going to take that position back. So Garisco is going to make that move. As speaking of moves, Wayne Hufford looked to the inside of Lynch for just a brief moment there, but Mike Lynch able to hold it together. So no places gained or lost there as Dan Hill is making his way up through this mid-pack. You can see it's getting very, very dicey just behind Daniel Edgren, almost involved in a big accident there in the 23rd position. Cars looking all over the place. Dean Gear having a nice run trying to recover from that green flag penalty, as he has moved himself into the 25th position thanks to those cautions, allowing him to be the driver one lap down and get that lucky dog position. So a whole bunch of battles happening on track at the moment. Dean Gear and it looks like Jonathan Green going to be side by side almost, as Daniel Edgren takes that spot pretty convincingly. No, it's going to be back to Dean Gear, and he's going to run that high side. Absolutely phenomenal stuff. Didn't look like he got the run he wanted though, so it looks like Edgren is going to be able to maybe take that spot back. And it does look like that is the case as we go back up to the front, because Dwayne MacArthur has gotten back around Tom Ogle. We've missed it once again. Maybe we should pay more attention to the front of the pack. I will remind myself of that, as Tom Ogle and Dwayne MacArthur are once again in a bit of a fight. They've had a little bit of a breakaway from Josh Robinson just behind of about half a second. And we'll see if that one continues to rise, starts to come back down. As we have seen almost Ford domination this season. A few smattering wins from Toyota, not too many from the Chevys so far this season. Chris Bates currently your highest Chevy in that 5th place position. See him occasionally on the edge of screen in a green and white machine. Green and yellow machine, I should say. This must be only a me thing, but I always get yellow and white confused for some reason in my brain, as Dwayne MacArthur and Tom Ogle got very, very close together. Separated just a little bit as Ogle tried to get a run, looking like he's going to be able to do it. Getting a very, very good run past the front straightaway. Going to try and make it work into turn one. Sends it in deep, gets it done, and he is around. So Ogle making that move on Dwayne MacArthur, finding himself back in the second place position once again. And these two continuing to trade blows. Both these two drivers, the only drivers so far to have cracked the 30-second mark of laps around this track at Nashville Superspeedway. One thing should be mentioned as well, a completely concrete surface, which does make it very interesting, as when these cars get loose on concrete, there is almost no saving them. We pan the camera back to the 14th position as Dave Nestor and Cameron Shosey are side by side, but it looks like Shosey is going to stick it to him on the high side. Kermit Gentry Jr. getting into the wall just a little bit further back of screen, and that is allowing John Hastings and Brian McRubbin to close that gap up to him as he goes very, very wide. John Hastings is going to say, yes, thank you very much. And McRubbin is going to say, you have a Duff beer as well, as he goes through. As well as Michael Lemonchek, there is something going on with Kermit Gentry as he's still stuck on the high side. Michael Lemonchek trying his best to get through there as well. And look who's shown up, Dan Hill right behind, getting himself involved in this one. And there's a bit of an accident we were watching just as it happened. Oh no! Dan Hill involved in yet another incident. And I believe Dan Hill was sent to the Shadow Realm for 2 4Xs in a row, marking 8, and sent away from the field for this one. So Dan Hill on the bottom there, you can see enough room left between the two. No contact as of yet. See exactly what happened here. Oh, it almost looked like Lemanchek came down, just tagged the rear end of Dan Hill's 7 machine. Cycle that one back one more time, get a bit of a better angle on it. As, yeah, it does look like Lemanchek just decided to come down a little bit earlier than what Dan Hill was actually expecting him to do, and not staying as good on his line as he thought. So it looks like Dan Hill has been sent away from the racing surface. Michael Lemanchek coming down pit road. Every driver coming down pit road, deciding this is a good thing to do. And look at that, Mike Lynch coming out of pit lane first and foremost by a long way. Ogle, MacArthur, Robinson, and Greg McDaniel, your top 5 coming out, as we've still got races coming off of pit road. No one wanting to exceed that speed limit. But a very interesting decision by Mike Lynch. And a curious one at that, because we're being told that he did not actually stop in his pit box. So Mike Lynch actually showing as he did not stop in his pit box. He went all the way through pit road, I believe missed his pit box, and so he's going to have to come down again, get his service done, and that is going to make him fall all the way back to the end of the field. Absolute heartbreak for Mike Lynch, as that is about as unfortunate as you can get. So we'll try and see. Let's see if we can find it. Okay, we'll trying to scroll back to this very quickly. Just looking at Mike Lynch for the moment, because I just want to see if we can have a look at how he managed to just miss his pit box. It looks like he's just forgotten exactly where it is. Looks like he was coming down and just missed it. Yep, so he's just come straight back out. So heartbreak for Mike Lynch there, as he's going to be having to start all the way back. And unfortunately for him, we did manage to get that one on camera. A bit embarrassing for Mike there, as Tom Ogle and Dwayne MacArthur going to be leading off as we get ready to roll this one once again. Josh Robinson and Greg McDaniel in your third and fourth positions, with Mike Watts and Chris Bates. On that high side is Chris Bates in the third row. Get ready to roll once again. Pace car is going to come off the field this time. There he goes as we get ready to get underway once again. It's Ogle, MacArthur, these two drivers side by side, heading to the line once more, and here they come. As we get underway once again, Tom Ogle getting a nice jump on the inside line. It looks like Josh Robinson is able to follow him through. The two teammates working together very well there, as Dwayne MacArthur is going to have to fall back into that third place position for the moment. Josh Robinson looking for a move straight away, as Ogle getting pushed way out wide, and Josh Robinson looking to take that spot away. Not able to do so though, or maybe allowing Tom Ogle potentially some team play, some team tactics coming involved in that one. These two are teammates first and foremost, however they do, well I should say they are racers first and foremost, teammates second. They have battled each other hard in the past. We should see that once again, especially as these laps wind down. Wayne MacArthur still sitting in that third place position, looking like he's got enough pace right now to challenge Josh Robinson just in front, and he's looking like he wants it. And Bass Pro Shops Camry looking very racy for the moment, getting a lot lower, a lot nicer exit over Josh Robinson just ahead. Closed that gap a huge margin, as we're getting a report that Lloyd Moore crashed. Still under green for the moment, so we're going to have a quick look at that one, as yes, it looks like he did get a little bit loose and just go to the inside of the field. Absolutely not collecting anyone while going on his merry way through the grass, so that is very, very good news. Right now, Tom Ogle still leading the race so far. Josh Robinson and Dwayne MacArthur not too far behind. Will ride on board the rear bumper cam. Oh, I said that in a weird way. The rear bumper cam of Tom Ogle. Oh, that is not the rear bumper cam. There it is. Looks like Robinson is right behind, and you can see MacArthur not too far off either. Very, very shiny paint scheme. Look at the shine off of Josh Robinson's machine. Absolutely fantastic. Love seeing that. Bit of Rusty's medicated bumper ointment applied to that one. Look at that shine as Tom Ogle continues to lead these two. You can see Dwayne MacArthur just poking his nose out just a little bit every so often. Josh Robinson holding him back for the moment though, as they start to catch up to a little bit of lap traffic, and that is going to be, I believe, Mike Lynch. It very much is. So Mike Lynch going to succumb to these front runners right now, as the three of these guys have absolutely set it out from the get-go. Mike Lynch with a little bit of a bobble. Got to be careful not to do anything rash around these leaders. Ogle able to get through unscathed. Robinson as well as MacArthur. These three have separated themselves from the rest of the field by about a second, 1.3 seconds right now. These three drivers just will not quit as they continue to battle each other very, very hard. As we go a little bit further back, one of our newcomers, Jonathan Thea, in the triple-digit Google machine, is trying to make his way around the Duff machine of Brian McRubbin. The 09 machine and the 116 are side by side. And it looks like Jonathan Thea is going to take that spot away for that 17th position. So great racing from Kim, our triple number drivers today, including Jonathan Thea. We'll also include a lap down driver for the moment. Looks like in pit road right now, and maybe out of the race entirely, of Terry Atwood. So unfortunate to see that one, as one of our triple number drivers are away early. And the other one being Jim Smith. So we'll see if we can find where Jim Smith is out on track. And there he is in the 114 machine, sitting in 23rd right now. So Jonathan Thea in 17th, Jim Smith in 3rd, and Terry Atwood, unfortunately, it looks like out of the race in the 35th spot. So right now, these triple number drivers doing a great job not getting involved in any incidents so far. We have had a few. And it looks like these three drivers of Ogle, Robinson and MacArthur are getting very close to each other once again. They just do not know how to let each other go. Dwayne MacArthur, you can bet that he is fed up with seeing the rear bumper of Josh Robinson just ahead. And what'll be very interesting, and I know I say this a lot, but it will be very interesting if Josh Robinson is going to lose this spot before trying to make a pass on his teammate Tom Ogle for the lead. And I say that will be interesting as much as I can, because Josh Robinson right now is leading the championship. He's got the most wins. He doesn't need another one. He's looking very, very comfortable to make his way into the chase. Tom Ogle, on the other hand, only has one win, although does have several amounts of points to be able to make his way in with no problem as well, unless something horrible befalls him. And it looks like there's going to be the answer to the question we were raising just a lap ago, as Dwayne MacArthur has made his way around Josh Robinson on the low sideline and makes that pass. So once again, the Toyota splitting the two Fords up front. And it's looking very interesting indeed. Cycle it on back. Robert Garisco is right on the back bumper of Chris Bates and right in front of Brian Lindsay. And this is towards the front of our second pack right now. These drivers very, very close, nose to tail. As Brian Lindsay looks like had a little bit of a better run off the exit, but I don't think it's going to be enough to catch Garisco heading into turn 1. It doesn't look like it. So not quite able to do so right there. Wayne Hufford also looking like he's decided to get himself involved in this one, as he is not too far behind either. Brian Lindsay thinking about making a move, absolutely does not. Now a reminder that Robert Garisco is currently sitting in the 19th position, needs to finish in the top 18 for the end of the championship before the cutoff at the Chase, which will be in 9 races time plus this one, which makes 10. And currently sitting behind Mark Fish only by a mere 14 points. And judging from where they are right now, I believe Robert Garisco is going to be able to take over that place from Mark Fish, as Mark Fish currently running in 20th, with Garisco running in the 7th position. Battle heating up front. Dwayne MacArthur has closed up to the rear bumper of Tom Ogle. And these two doing what these two do best, and that is making a breakaway. Josh Robinson looking on as per usual. Not falling too far back from these two leaders right now. Just hanging on in there right at the edge. Just enough to show up in the rearview mirror. Number 93 of Patrick Martindale saying, joining us in the spectator area, just saying it was bad luck for me again. Tiny tap in the wrong place is all it takes, and you are absolutely correct. I don't have to tell you that as a driver being involved in the incident that occurred, but I will say that, you know, these cars, they are very, very twitchy, and I mean, you say a small tap, but it was in the middle of the corner when you got tagged, and unfortunately the car is already very close to loose, as well as just how hard these drivers, and I'm sure Martindale as well, were pushing it, that just a little bit extra will send you over that edge of grip and spinning around, cascading into the wall. As we're starting to encroach on our pit window laps. Remember, pit window 60 to 70 laps here tonight. However, we have had a few cautions already, which will extend that fuel window just a little bit. Maybe giving these drivers around about, at best guess scenario, about 5 extra laps of fuel. So we shall see just when these drivers decide to come down pit road. Closest battle on track right now, Dustin Martinson looking to the underside of Jim Smith. They get very, very close together. Jim allowing plenty of room, the rookie. And Martinson loses the rear end just a little bit. Victor Ryan is going to be very happy to see that, although he was unable to make total advantage of that move either. And what have I just seen? I saw Brian Lindsay falling down our standings. We did not get a crash report, and that is because Brian Lindsay is perfectly fine, sitting in that 8th place position right now. Just a little bit of a glitch in the timing software right there. So it looks like these drivers, you can definitely see the times are slowing down. Their pace is slowing down. All of these drivers about half a second slower. Not a massive difference, but half a second over the course of a run is a big, big deal per lap. And they are slowing down as the tire wear becomes worse and worse here at Nashville Superspeedway. These old bastards certainly know what they're doing though and what they're getting into as they race more often than not incredibly cleanly and very, very effectively. Always huge grids we see here as well at the Old Bastards Racing League Kimball Cup Series. And I have the utmost pleasure to be able to broadcast these events and give you the racing action in all its glory. As we're looking at Chris Bates, because right now he is in an absolute Toyota sandwich between Greg McDaniel and Robert Garisco. Chris Bates, that Chevy, just the meat in the sandwich. I was looking for something else I could say, another metaphor, but it just didn't really stick, as Chris Bates right there behind Greg McDaniel, still trying to track down that #1 machine and get himself back into the top 5 spots. Remember, McDaniel and Bates, these two sitting in 5th and 6th, did start on the 1st and 2nd positions. So just falling back a little bit, but not too bad at all, as they are both still fighting for top 5 spots right now. A little bit further back, Matt Semrich going to be making that move on Mark Fish. Mark Fish dropping another position. That's really going to hurt his playoff chase chances, as Matt has no time to lose and makes that pass with quite a bit of dominance. And it makes you wonder, has Matt saved his tires a lot better than Mark Fish has? And it looks like that may actually be the case, as Semrich has made his way into the 20th position now. And drivers start to settle into a bit more of a groove. Still a couple battles here and there. Nothing absolutely major. I say that Cameron Shosey does have Brian Lynch right on the back bumper. John Hastings and Dave Nesta also very close together just behind them. Further up front, getting very, very close together, Brian Lindsay and Wayne Hufford now involved in a little bit of a battle for the 8th place position. And not too far behind, Lee Warsdale right on the back bumper of Wayne Hufford. Lee Warsdale, one of those drivers, very, very kindly letting us have a camera and a look-see-loo from the nose cam. And you can see right there from the onboard, trying very, very hard to track down Wayne Hufford right now for that 9th position. Currently sitting in 10th is Lee Warsdale. Guess that's a little bit of a plug for Wayne Hufford there, as that Twitch channel appears right on screen. Lee Warsdale falling, looked like just a little bit further back, unable to get the run off the corner quite as good as Wayne Hufford just in front. And that gap opening a little bit up at the exit of turn 4 especially. Wayne Hufford having a little bit of a bobble. Lee Warsdale I don't think is going to be close enough to take advantage. Lee Horsdale getting very, very sketchy on that outside lane. It looks like Cameron Chaussee is going to be very, very happy. And once again, I immediately noticed it as soon as I said it. It is Chaussee. And I have, once again, done it to myself and not done the man justice. I cannot apologize enough. And I have to get that one dialed in as quickly as I can. Brian Lynch, Wayne Hufford now side by side. As it looks like Brian Lindsay, excuse me, is not incredibly happy with the feeling of that machine. And it looks like this is where we're starting to see a lot of drivers with those older tires fall down the standings just a little bit. Michael Limenchek, the first machine down pit lane. We did say the window had moved up around about 5 laps, give or take, was my estimation. And it looks like about 8 laps in is when they're going to be starting. Kermit Gentry Jr. also joining him down pit lane. As we're still focused on these battles a little bit further down in the pack from 9th on back to around about the 12th position. These 4 drivers very, very close together for the moment. Have seen this in the past where green flag pit stops really spread out the field. We're going to have to keep an eye on just how much of a spread this could end up being, as Josh Robinson looking to take the spot away from Dwayne MacArthur. Not quite close enough. It looked very close for a moment there as they made their way around lap traffic. Jonathan Thier just made up another position up into the top 20 now, passing Dean Gear. A little bit of tyre management, I think, may be coming into play for Jonathan Thier right now. This Google back machine looking like it's got quite a bit of pace at the moment. With a 31 flat last time by. About the same pace as Robert Garisco sitting in the 7th position right now. So not at all a slow machine out there. As we're seeing some more machines come down pit road. The leaders are not one of them just yet. And one thing to mention, this pit road is a hot pit road as the drivers describe it. And essentially what that means is that this pit road entry is going to be taking place on mid-corner. So it's going to be very dicey as Josh Robinson takes the spot away from Dwayne MacArthur. Victor Lane looking like he's coming down pit road just ahead of the leaders and does so. So right now we are just past the halfway mark. Drivers will probably want to run as long as they are comfortable with doing. Or the longer they run, the more tire they will save on the later portion of the race, I should say. As Greg McDaniel has caught all the way back up to the rear bumper of Mike Watts. Chris Bates in tow as well. Lap car providing a little bit of assistance to Chris Bates there on exit. As green flag pit stops continue. Just how much fuel can these drivers save? We did get a rough estimation earlier on that there is a potential chance if these drivers save enough fuel that they can go all the way to an 80 lap run under green. it was unlikely, but it could be done. And it looks like we're going to see an example of that, granted with a few portions worth of assistance on the saving fuel runs. As Cameron Shosey side by side with Brian Lynch, not able to make that pass, so he's going to stay in the 11th position for now. Field very much spread out all throughout the track at this point. As I said, green flag pit stops, especially the front runners, we have seen it before where it has spread the field. And we are wondering if that's going to be the case once again, as Dwayne MacArthur has fallen off the pace just a little bit. So we're showing the examples that we're so used to seeing week in and week out from these three drivers in particular. Tom Ogle and Josh Robinson, both drivers that like to extend the run as much as possible. Josh Robinson, an absolute alien when it comes to somehow knowing exactly what the car needs and exactly how much to push it to have enough pace to stay well clear of the rest of the pack, as well as keeping tyres underneath him and in check. Ogle typically trying to learn off of his teammate Josh Robinson, but more often than not finds himself wearing those tyres out just a little bit more than Josh Robinson is able to do so, but still with a mid to longer run sort of machine. And Dwayne MacArthur, very definitely, I would say, our fastest at the moment short run pace machine. And you can see the reason the gap opening just there is the tyre fall off for Dwayne MacArthur. Typically not as good at managing the tyre wear as well as those two ahead of him in the longer run, but short to medium pace, he definitely has the speed to be a top contender. So you're seeing right now the reasons for a little bit of the spread at the front of the field that we're seeing right now. Greg McDaniel is trying to make the move on Mike Watts for the 4th position. And now this is interesting to see, because from what I have witnessed in past races, Mike Watts has also been one of those drivers with a very, very unique handling on tyre wear and being able to save tyres as much as possible. Greg McDaniel more often than not has been similar to Dwayne MacArthur with a mid to short to mid-run pace machine. And there goes Mike Watts, our first of the top 5 drivers coming down pit road. See if McDaniel, if that's going to hurt him too much, he may want to pit sometime soon as to not give up too much time to Mike Watts. We're going to see just when does McDaniel decide to come into pit road. He's going to stay out, it looks like, another lap, so that could hurt him just a little bit. We'll have to see how that one shakes up towards the end of this race. Closest battle on track at the moment, Brian McRubb and John Hastings side by side. The Duff Beer and the Tired Machine, certainly two products you wouldn't want to mix together. As the 12th place position does change hands with Brian McRubb taking over that position. Cameron Shosey losing a spot, no fighting it out with Brian Lynch once again. These two drivers have battled just earlier in the race, found each other again. No bad blood on track from previous encounters though, as there is plenty of room on track between the two drivers. Plenty of space given, as there may be a bit of a checkup from Brian Lynch, as a little bit of lap traffic getting in the way. Not actually needing to check up though, and it looks like, look at that, Jonathan Green all of a sudden out of nowhere takes the spot from Cameron Shosey. Phenomenal stuff here at Nashville Superspeedway. A lot closer racing than I must admit I was prepared to see. I was thinking the drivers would get stressed out just a little bit. They were not going to do it though, as Tom Ogle coming in from the first place position, taking that pit stop. And that is definitely going to shake some things up Josh Robinson, we'll see if he does his usual, staying out as long as possible. But where will Dwayne MacArthur? When will he decide to make that entrance into pit road? Only time can tell, as it looks like the fuel window has extended from 60 to 70 to about 80 to 90 laps. It almost looks like at this point. Chris Bates coming down pit road from the 4th position. He's also coming down pit road. These drivers coming a bit earlier than they probably want to. Here's a battle on track. Robert Garisco and Brian Lindsay just behind, as well as Jonathan Green and Brian Lynch fighting side by side, not too far behind them, with Cameron Shosey right behind them. As the battles for within the top 10, the later half of the top 10, are still very much going ahead. And all these drivers must be getting pretty low on fuel at this point. And I don't know how good it would be to pit as a big unit. Greg McDaniel and Jonathan Thea also coming down pit road, as well as Jim Smith. So the 2 rookies still left standing are going to be on pit road together. Greg McDaniel comes in from higher up in the grid, so we'll see where he comes out, as Tom Ogle is just made his way into the 11th place position right now. So Tom Ogle will be your highest driver that has done a pit stop at this point in time, sitting in the 11th position, 1 lap down. And we're still watching this battle between Brian Lynch and Cameron Shosey. Now Brian Lynch on that high side, he's going to have to be wary of that, as if he stays high for too much longer. It looks like Lee Worsdale tried to come down pit road. Excuse me, Jonathan Green. I don't know why I'm getting those two confused today, but Jonathan Green thought about coming down pit road, decided not to, and got very, very, very close to being run over by Cameron Shosey. I don't think he got that 98 machine stopped in time to make that pit road run. And this is going to be very interesting. All 3 on the low side coming together. A little bit of a contact there on pit entry between Garisco and Brian Lynch. Thankfully, it doesn't look like anything too bad or untoward has befallen them, as those 3 drivers have both come in, as well as Wayne Hufford, Brian Lindsay, Josh Robinson, and Dwayne MacArthur come down at the exact same time. And they are going to hand the lead over to Cameron Shosey. Will he stay out and take a lap lead? No, he won't, as he almost gets clipped there by another driver coming through. Oh, the hot pit lane is definitely showing right now, as Dean Gear is going to stay out and lead a lap here at Nashville Superspeedway. It is absolute pandemonium with green flag pits not having the nicest of effect on drivers, as Josh Robinson pulls out of pit road, but he is going to lose the overall lead to Tom Ogle, who came in quite a few laps earlier. And Michael Watts, it looks like, gets the jump on Dwayne MacArthur coming out of pit road. So fantastic job from Mike Watts. Good call from him to come down a little bit early. Dean Gear is coming down pit road, which will hand over the lead back to Tom Ogle as we cycle through. So fuel till the end of the race, and we are ready to do it. So Tom Ogle, once again, as we mentioned, green flag stops have a potential to really stretch out this field, and it looks exactly that has happened, as Tom Ogle with more than 1.5 second lead over Josh Robinson, sitting in the 2nd position, who has a 2-second lead over Mike Watts, and he has a 2.3 over Dwayne MacArthur, with a 3-second lead over Greg McDaniel, sitting in the 5th position. biggest winner from those pit stops, from what I can tell, looks like Lee Warsdale was the biggest winner. He is currently up into the 6th position with Chris Bates right behind, trying to fight him for that 6th place spot, which is going to be our closest battle on track at the moment. Chris Bates looking like he has a little bit more speed in that machine at the moment over Lee Warsdale, so Warsdale is a little bit higher on track as well. Gonna see if he can have the run, but it looks like he's gonna be hampered a little bit, trying not to tag the wall, gets a little bit loose, stays off the wall though. Great job there as these two go side by side. Triple number driver of Jim Smith just ahead, not wanting to get involved, stays well high. As Josh Robertson just sets the fastest lap of the race with a 29.82 second lap time. A top speed of 293 miles an hour as well. What we're being shown, Josh Robinson had been done as his highest speed recorded. That is phenomenal, although that is also wrong, as that is in kilometers an hour, I should stress, and not in miles an hour. Which works out to be roughly 180 miles an hour, give or take. So about the same speeds we were seeing in practice. As it looks like the field's still stretched out, but Wayne Hufford is closing on the back bumper of Troy Baker. Troy Baker, another one of those drivers that's sort of close to the cutoff line for the top 18 drivers as we start to mention the chase from here on in as it creeps up on us. Troy Baker is above the cut line by about 49 points at the moment. So as long as he just finishes consistently, he should be in a pretty good position to make it into the chase. He's currently sitting in the top 10. Wayne Hufford certainly seems to have picked up the pace from that off week, and I wonder just how much practice has come in to Nashville Superspeedway, as he's looking a lot more racy and a lot more confident in that machine. The 75 machine doing a great job so far. Up in the 9th position. Closest battle on track as we cycle back is for the 17th position. McRubbin got very, very close. Having a bit of an issue with Mike Lynch. Thankfully, the lap down car of Mike Lynch allowing him to go by. That has allowed Mark Fish to close that gap quite quickly in the 18th position, trying to get 17th away from Ryan McRubbin. Matt Semrek looking like he's got a lot of company right behind with Robert Garisco just there. But I must say, Matt Semrek, I'm just wondering now, came into pit lap 86, so a little bit earlier than Garisco behind, but does seem like he's moved up a lot of positions, so doing a great job in that Broncos-backed 72 machine. Now it should be said, as I have not alluded to it so far tonight, your biggest mover of the race the Tide Machine of John Hastings, up 21 spots from where he started in this race tonight. So an absolutely phenomenal job by John Hastings. No one even close to that amount of positions gained on track, as he is currently sitting in the 8th place position, with Wayne Hufford tracking him down though, as Wayne is currently a little bit faster by about a 10th a lap. So closing that gap to the 32 machine just in front of John Hastings. And speaking of a gap being closed, we're going to cycle it back up front, because look-see-loo, it looks like Tom Ogle is going to have some very interesting competition in the form of his teammate Josh Robinson. Robinson biding his time, it looks like, for the moment. Wayne Hufford does make that pass on Hastings. As we go back to look at that just ever so briefly, there was also a very close moment between Garisco and Semrick, but thankfully nothing too untoward happening there as they make themselves around Lloyd Moore. Mike Lynch has come down pit road. So Mike Lynch, an interesting stop from him, and he is having an extended stay. That is absolutely not what Mike Lynch wants to see. He may have decided to park it and be done and out for the rest of this one. As that gap between Ogle and Robinson extended just a tiny bit. Now starting to close up once again. Up traffic, that is the 17 machine. 17 machine of Larry Corey, who we have not mentioned yet tonight. Larry Corey doing a great job so far. Currently sitting in the 27th position, down 5 positions from where he started, but has had a few issues out on track from what I can see here. May have just missed a couple of them. Lloyd Moore coming out of pit road, so he was down for a late stay. Battle for the lead with 30 laps to go. Makes you wonder. These two teammates, as I've mentioned previously, they are friends. They are great mates, but are they rivals? The answer is, I would say, a resounding yes. As they are drivers first and foremost, and as every driver knows, you go for the win regardless of who is in front of you. And that is what makes a racing driver have the talent that they need to make it to the front. Tom Ogle still trying to fight off Josh Robinson right now. Robinson just unbelievably good at saving those tires, and he manages to do so while tracking you down. It's almost like he really is out of this world. As you can see just how much lower and how much a cleaner line Josh Robinson had on the exit of turn 2 coming into 1, as we head into turn 3 and 4. A little bit of a higher line, but getting lower on exit, allowing him to get more of a run, catching up to the back bumper of Tom Ogle. And remember, we do have a rear-faced Ogle cam. As they... Oh, it looks like Robinson thought about making a move, decided against it though. There is the back bumper of Tom Ogle on your screen right now. Josh Robinson. It's just showing you exactly his line is so much lower and just seems to get a bit better of a run. Of course, as I say that, Tom Ogle sets an absolute blinder and manages to get a little bit more of a gap to Robinson. Oh, having to check up a little bit in the mid-corner. That's allowing Robinson to catch right back up once again. And lap traffic gonna play a role in this one. Potentially slowing these drivers down. The Google machine of Jonathan Thier and Mike Fish just ahead of him as well. They're having their own battle for the 18th position. Thier moves out of the way. And he's going to try and use that draft just ahead of him as Ogle tries to move Fish up the track. We'll see if he can use that to his advantage. It doesn't look like he's going to be quite able to do so though. Not quite enough, it would seem. As that is actually the closest battle on track right now. These two drivers right there on your screen, Jonathan Thier and Mark Fish, fighting for the 18th position. Both have moved up 15 or more positions from where they have started. As it looks like Ogle had a little bit of a bobble just in front of where we were watching. Josh Robinson to the outside. Not sure how that's going to work, but this is Josh Robinson we're talking about. See if he makes that one stick. It looks like he has stuck to the outside line and is still alongside. I'm not sure if that's going to be able to lend it to a position. And no, Robinson goes well wide, but trying to cut back down, getting that massive run. Ogle cuts him off at the pass. And so Robinson is going to have to lay back once again for a little bit longer. Robinson and Ogle continuing their fight. Robinson is on the low side now though. That is exactly where you want to be if you're going to make a move. A little bit loose on exit, but it's not going to hurt him too much. Ogle still has the position as they cross the line. Robinson going to take it away though as they head into turn 1. Out of turn 2. They are still side by side though. Ogle does not want to give this one up. And all this is doing is slowing these two drivers down as well as abusing their tyres a little bit. MacArthur is going to be very ecstatic to see that. You can see the time is starting to come down as these two put on a show for the cameras. Robinson and Ogle still going side by side, almost perfectly in sync as Robinson manages to take the spot away from Ogle with 20 laps to go. Cycling the camera back, Cameron Shosey with a little bit of an accident that looks like just behind Garisco and Brian Lynch, carrying way too much speed. Both of them hitting the wall. And Garisco is going to be out wide once again. You're going to have to be very conscious of that wall though, mate. And it looks like he has stuck down underneath it, so thankfully not getting involved in it once again, which is certainly helping that right side. A little bit scuffed though now. We'll have to see just how much or if that hurts them at all, as Garisco cannot afford to have a bad points day if he wants to edge himself above that cutoff line and make himself just a wee bit safer heading into the final 9 races before the cutoff to the chase. And Brian Lindsay trying to make a move on Brian Lynch now. Ex-Alta Machine underneath the Hooters backed number 9. And it looks like Ryan McRubbin is not too far behind either. Brian Lynch still somehow managing to hold on to that spot, even using the outside lane. Somehow working in his favour. Not seen anyone really being able to use that. so far tonight. Robert Crisco is going to go very, very wide for the moment. And that is going to open the door for Brian Lynch to say, yeah, I'll take that spot away from you. Thanks, mate. And here comes Brian Lindsay as well. As the 24 tries to follow the 9 through and does so. Ryan McRubbin going to try and follow. Robert Crisco, all of a sudden, he's going to see his positions flashing before his eyes as he goes down 3 spots. Just like that. Maybe not as he tries to fire back against Lindsay, but on that high side, it's going to be very close, almost a touch. Little bit of a wiggle. Thankfully able to keep the car underneath them. Both drivers doing a great job at that. And it looks like McRubbin has made that pass and is able to take the 15th spot away from Risco Garisco. And that had my heart in my chest for a moment there. I thought we were going to get a very late race caution, which would have shaken the tables once again. As we cycle forward, because it looks like John Hastings is going to be in a battle with Jonathan Green. Green takes that away without too much trouble. Hastings came in on lap 83. Matt Semrek right behind came in on lap 90. A lot fresher tyres under that machine. 72 is going to make that known as well, as he makes a very easy pass on John Hastings, who still, even with those 2 overtakes, is still in the 10th position and up 19 spots from where he began tonight. Cameron Shosey and Lee Warsdale right behind though. Gotta wonder if he can hang on to a top 10 spot. Looks like that tyre wear is really starting to eat into that 32 machine. Cameron Shosey makes quick work. John Hastings down another spot. We're going to see if Lee Warsdale can also find his way through. It sounds like a little bit of contact, and there was a little bit of contact. The 51 machine, Victor Ryan, traveling right up against the wall. A little bit too close for comfort, I would say, considering he was riding that thing Ross Chastain style. Oh, and it looks like a driver's come down pit road. That is Patrick Martindale. Patrick Martindale has come down pit road once again. It's good to see that he did come back out on track, try a few more laps, see what he could do. After having that issue very early on, which sent him to the pits for a very extended stay. Lee Warsdale able to make that move on John Hastings now. And does make that pass. Lee Warsdale up into the 11th place spot. As Josh Robinson has not checked out from Ogle as much as I thought he would by this point. You can see right in front of Ogle, there is Josh Robinson. Gonna have quite a few bits of lap traffic they're going to have to deal with though. Briscoe riding that outside wall, gets passed by Dwayne MacArthur. Dwayne's still sitting in that 3rd place position. Little ways back from the leader though. As you can see, Josh Robinson is going to be making his mark, but will he be halted by this big battle that's going on just in front of him? Brian Lynch, Brian Lindsay, John Hastings in front of Brian Lynch, and Ryan McRubbin all in a very tight 4-car pack. Very, very tight as Brian Lynch tries the outside of John Hastings. Gonna make it stick. Goes a little bit wider than he would have thought. Brian Lindsay, I think, trying to think about making it through the middle of those two. Decides against it. That's allowing Brian McRubbin to make his way up right on the back bumper. John Hastings still falling back after that very early pit stop has certainly hurt those tyres quite a lot. Coming in about 7 laps earlier than all the other cars and eating up those tyres, trying to make as many spots as possible, is starting to hurt him in a lot of ways. Oh, and it looks like Brian Lindsay got very, very close to the back bumper of Brian McRubbin. Brian Lynch, on the other hand, has checked out a little bit ahead of Hastings now, as lap traffic also coming into play. That is the 19 machine of Dustin Martinson, staying well high to stay clear. Brian Lindsay backing out, allowing the leaders to come through. This is a very tight situation. I'd be very scared if I was Robinson and Ogle right now, as they're actually going high to pass McRubbin. Definitely the unpreferred line. But they're able to make it work, as Lindsay trying to use that draft to his advantage. Lindsay now using the draft from Ogle. So Lindsay does stay ahead of McRubbin for the moment. John Hastings still right in the way of these two drivers. John Hastings definitely has a right to be there though, as he is also battling for that 13th spot and keeping them at bay so far. Getting ready to roll out the red carpet for our leaders, as we're going to see the flag for one to go. And the white flag is out for Josh Robinson. Tom Ogle not too far behind, but I don't think he's going to have enough behind him to be able to make any sort of move. Brian McRubbin gets around John Hastings for the 14th position, as Josh Robinson is going to be able to make it all the way home. Put your hands together for the 7-race winner, as well as the All-Star race winner. Josh Robinson out in front once again. Tom Ogle finishing in the 2nd position. And Wayne MacArthur, a very solid 3rd place spot for Dwayne MacArthur. There on the left of your screen, the unofficial results. We will get the official results to you in just a moment, as drivers continue to make their way around the track. And the drivers park up for their photo at the end of the race. Perfectly in sync there too. Great job from these guys lining up as we bring up the results for you. Official results, here they are. Josh Robinson, number 1. Tom Ogle in the 2nd place position, the teammate, with Dwayne MacArthur in that 3rd place position. Michael Watts bringing it home in 4th. Greg McDaniel in 5th. Chris Bates in 6th. Wayne Hufford bringing it home in the 7th position. Matt Semrick in the 8th position. Cameron Shosey in the 9th place. And Jonathan Green rounding out our top 10. Once again, I will allow everyone watching at home to look at the grid and see where your favorite driver may or may not have ended up in this race. as I prepare for post-race interviews. As we get ready for post-race interviews, I would like to thank all of you once again, as always, for coming out here tonight and joining me watching these old bastards make their way around the track. A spectacular race to watch, and in spectacular fashion as we get ready to bring up our first interview of the night as we wait for Josh Robinson just to make his way to the waiting room, but if not, we will pull him in here anyway. So we get ready for it once again. And it looks like, yes, we are having all drivers. So we're going to pull in Dwayne MacArthur. Dwayne finishing in the third place position. Ain't nothing to shrug off about that. Great job from you. Just didn't have enough on the long run there for the two up front.
Yeah, I messed up on the first run there. I found the long run speed on the second one. I needed maybe 10 more laps, but I'm happy with the podium, so that's good.
Yeah, well, talk us through what you were thinking, especially starting on that high side line, because it seemed like on the restarts, and not just the restarts, but also the whole run itself, it looked like the high line just wasn't able to get going and wasn't able to perform as well as that low side.
No, there wasn't much up there unless you had a pretty big tire advantage. It was pretty low line dominated race.
Well, I tell you what, Dwayne, man of few words. I'm detecting maybe a little bit of disappointment that you weren't up there with the front two, but I will say certainly nothing to sneeze at because this race had a lot of action, a lot of cautions early on. How were you on the long run? Did you feel like you didn't have the pace of Josh Robinson and Tom Ogle like we're so used to seeing, unfortunately, but it seemed like you were able to hang with Ogle for a very long time there before the green flag pit stops just seemed to get away from you.
Yeah, I just made a mistake coming to the end of the long run. Blew a gear. I lost some ground to them, and then I ran them back down. I think I came out about 4 seconds behind them. I got to about 1.7. I just kind of ran out of laps there. Probably might have just went a little too easy on the front side of the second run, but certainly 10 or 15 more laps, and I could have got there. Just ran out of time.
All right, Dwayne. Well, we did see you catching up, so we have no doubt that that could have been the case coming to the checkered line. But before I let you go, anyone you would like to shout out, friends, family, sponsors, the floor is yours.
Yeah, just a shout out to our sponsors, Kim Bowl, Victory Lane Sports, AIO Logs, Butt Kicker. Um, couldn't do it without their support, obviously. And big shout out and thanks to all the admins in this league, help keep it running, and all the guys that show up every week. And then the fellas promoting us out there, you with Team Goon Squad, and of course John Hastings and Mark Fish with their YouTube videos. So thanks to everybody, and thanks to you, Gareth.
All right, sounds good. We will see you in the future. Good luck next week at Chicagoland, Dwayne.
Sounds good. You bet.
All right, that was Dwayne MacArthur bringing it home in the third place position. Up next, a man that we absolutely love talking to, Tom Ogle, bringing it home in the second position. Tom, what are your thoughts? How you feeling?
I hate the overcut. The overcut on tires. I wasn't sure how much better it would be, but I knew it would be a little bit better. And if I could have held Josh off maybe 3 or 4 laps, our lap times would have equaled. But also, he got in the pits and off pit road better than me. I lost probably 2 or 3 seconds, kind of not being aggressive on pit entrance. So he caught me in the pits. I didn't make up enough time, basically.
Well, I mean, Tom, you did come in a little bit early. We were expecting actually that Josh was going to follow you not too long after, but obviously staying out, like you said, the overcut working in his favor. However, you did build up quite a bit of a lead. It's just, I mean, it's near impossible to hold Josh back. He's just an alien when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah, he is. He doesn't make too many mistakes. Yep, yeah, definitely. I mean,
Well,
that's one way to put it.
well,
I think
Tom.
if on equal tires, I could hold him off.
Okay, well, I
But
mean
on
that's a very interesting notion.
that first run, I was better than him. But then, especially at the end of the run, being out in front in fresh air. But then the overcut got me.
Well, Tom, as much as that overcut seemed to have gotten you, you still performed incredibly well. I have to ask, I mean, obviously your own small rivalry, I would say, with Josh Robinson, but were you a little bit fearful that early run, like, before when all the cautions were coming out, you had Dwayne MacArthur, you guys were battling, switching, leapfrogging for the lead constantly. Were you a little bit worried that he might take advantage and skip away from you early on in the run?
I thought so. I was kind of watching him. If Josh would have all of a sudden fell back a second and a half, I would have probably eased up. But he was running right there with us. So I knew if he's keeping up with us, he's got to be burning up his stuff just as much as we are. As long as he was as dumb as I was to run that hard, then uh, which he usually isn't. But I knew that I could probably hold him off. It's hard to pass on the top here. It's so bottom. Like there's so much grip on the bottom compared to the top. So if you can just hold the bottom on equal tires, you'll be all right.
Yeah, it definitely seemed to work out well for you, especially holding Josh Robinson back for a few more laps than you may have expected as well, doing just that. But Tom, before we let you go, anyone you'd like to shout out, thank, friends, family, sponsors, the floor's yours for the moment.
Just the guys that put the league on, all the admins do a great job. It's a ton of work. My teammates Josh, Brian Lynch, Dan Hill. Feel bad for Dan. He had a pretty rough night tonight, and we all kind of bounce stuff off of each other and help each other. Uh, and you guys for broadcasting. You do a good job.
Well, thank you, Tom. I very much appreciate it, and I'm sure Dan Hill also appreciates that, as we did see him
It's
ejected
rough.
pretty early as well. But we will let you go here, Tom.
All right,
Enjoy
thank you.
your time in the next race, and we'll see you maybe in the top spot next time.
Hopefully I can get a win. Have a good week.
You too, Tom. Catch you later.
Yep. See ya.
All right, that was Tom Ogle in the second place position. Finally, the man, the myth, the legend, the resident alien in the Old Bastards Racing League, Josh Robinson. Welcome to the booth. How are you feeling?
Hey Gareth, how you doing tonight?
I am doing spectacularly, but I bet I'm not doing as well as you are.
That was a long race. Honestly, I thought at best I was a third place car tonight at absolute best, uh, and I needed some really long runs, and fortunately we got those. But had we had some cautions and some shorter runs, I think Tom, Dwayne, Watson, Greg would have eaten me up there.
Well, speaking of longer runs, talk us through the short runs, Josh, because we know that you seem to somehow be just better than everyone on longer runs, and none of us can work out how. But the short runs definitely seem to be the weaker part of your game. Can you give us an insight onto why that might be the case? Do you just focus on long runs from the get-go, or do you just not quite push as hard as, does you find the car, you don't push it right to the ragged edge. You just keep it a little bit in reserve just so you can save those tires underneath you for said long run.
That's exactly the case. I'm always prepared for a long run. So, anytime we're going to do a fuel run, or if we're going to have to run 100 laps or something like that and dissect it in half, I'm I'm always prepared to go long as needed. Uh, but if we do, sometimes you just got to hammer down and go. I don't think I could have tonight. Like I said, I think Tom and those guys were gonna destroy me on a short run because they had some very good short run speed. But, sometimes you get lucky and you get those long runs, and that paid off tonight.
Absolutely. Now tell us, Josh, as well. We were mentioning up here in the booth that there was a potential chance that you may have played a little bit of a team order game with Tom Ogle and let him have the win when you caught up to him with about 30 or 22, I think it was, laps to go. Caught that rear bumper, and I was saying up here in the booth, you may decide on some team orders and let Ogle have this win since he's only got the one and you've already had quite a few.
Oh no, Tom and I don't even have that in our vocabulary. It's go time every lap when we're next to each other.
Well, I certainly have seen that in the past, and I'm glad to hear that that is continuing to be the case. Makes it much more of a better spectacle up here in the booth as well. So, Josh, I mean, before I let you go, got to have the final shout outs of the night. Excuse me. Who would you like to thank? Friends, family, sponsors. The floor is yours. Tonight's winner at Nashville Superspeedway.
As always, Gareth, thanks to the league, and thank our sponsor Kim Bowl for putting on the series for us. Thanks to Team Goon Squad, you and James for doing the broadcast. Uh, I think I might have had a couple people pop in. I doubt they participated in the chat, but I think my nephew Andrew and coworker Paul might have chimed in. So shout out to those guys if they did. And then shout out to everyone that was racing tonight. Tom, Dwayne, that was really hard racing at the start of that race, and honestly thought we were going to pay for it, but the tires did not really fall off at this track. Usually at a concrete track you get punished for running too hard, and this not tonight though. And then shout out to the really anybody that was on the track, because wherever you were, there were some pretty good battles going on.
All right, Josh. And one final thing just before we go, because I feel like I have to ask, how are you feeling about Chicagoland Speedway next week?
That is MacArthur land is what we like to call that. So uh, probably be following Dwayne around there, but you know we come to win, so looking forward to some good racing.
All right, sounds good. Well, we will see you there, Josh, and we'll see if you just have something up your sleeve for Dwayne then, shall we?
Well, we shall see.
All right, see you later, Josh.
Have a good one, Gareth.
All right, that was Josh Robinson bringing it home in the top spot. Thank you to everyone who was joining me in the spectator area and watching alongside, maybe cheering on your favorite driver as well as your favorite league and very potentially your favorite broadcaster. I am Gareth McAllister with Team Goon Squad broadcasting, and I would like to thank you all for tuning in to what has been an absolutely phenomenal show here at the Old Bastards Racing League Kimball Cup Series. It was a great night of racing at Nashville Superspeedway, and I look forward to seeing you all next week at the same time, same place here on Team Goon Squad's YouTube channel. I will see you then for Chicagoland next week. Good night, everyone.